Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Hope you're having an awesome day so far. Wherever you're listening or watching, if you're on YouTube, I just want to tell you really quickly that I'm super appreciative that you tune in to the show every week, every day. We're coming at you 5 days per week. Today, I want to talk to you about a quote that I heard while I was in Arizona with my wife and my son. My son, as many of you know, plays travel baseball, and he was invited to an all-star tournament out in Arizona. And it's February in Chicago, and any chance for us to get out of this place in the wintertime, we're all for it. In all seriousness, though, it's a great opportunity for him to get around better competition, for him to learn from people who have played the sport pretty much their entire lives. Guys that have been in the major leagues, guys that are scouts, they coach. And I'm just grateful that he has that opportunity. I'm grateful that we get to spend that time as a family. But here's the lesson that I really want to share with you. We go to the tournament, and the first day, which is on Friday, you're meeting up and you're getting with your team, and they have an opening ceremony and they tell you what to expect. But the really cool part about this is that they have 6 or 7 different coaches, instructors that have all played at some level in Major League Baseball. Some of them were highly touted out of high school and played Division I and got drafted in the first round. Other guys had to, really earn their spot, and it wasn't an easy path for them. It wasn't an easy path for anybody, but there was just different stories, in terms of like how they got to the major leagues, like when they got called up, and they all shared their stories. And I can tell you that the one thing that all of them said, and this was really powerful because all the kids are sitting on the field while they're talking directly to the kids. It's on the speaker, so the parents can hear them too. Everyone watching can hear it. But they all said the same thing about the difference from being good. Like they said, hey, look, everyone is good. Everyone on this field is good. We all have talent. We all have ability. But the guys who went from good to great and then to exceptional, they all had the same thing in common. They realized that if I was going to get to where I wanted to go, which was Major League Baseball, that I was going to have to put in the extra work. I was going to have to do what others were not willing to do. They all understood it and they all did it. And that's the reason that they got ahead of other people that had more talent, more ability, and more skill than they did. I hear this over and over again in all walks of life. That is really the differentiator. If you want to be good, then you're just going to do the bare minimum of work, right? And you're going to let your talent take you to a certain level. That's about as far as you're going to get. So if you only want to be good in life, then that's all you need to do is coast, and you just can be happy with never getting beyond that level of good. But if you want greatness, if you want to be exceptional, if you want to be excellent, this is what is required. And there is no getting around it. There is no shortcut. You have to be willing to do what other people are not willing to do. It doesn't get any simpler than that. And the more that I go to these types of events, the more that I talk to successful people, it's always the same. That is the formula. Now, there was one particular guy, and I'm really beating myself up for not getting his name, and I'm going to go do this, but he's a Major League Baseball scout. All right. So he evaluates talent, but he played in the majors. And he was telling a story, again, very similar, how he didn't have a lot of, he had a hard time growing up. And by the way, a lot of these guys said, hey, nothing like this existed when I was young. Like we just played at the local park. Like we didn't have all this stuff. So the opportunity is really tremendous for these young guys. And I'm grateful that they have it. But this particular gentleman, he said, I didn't pick up a baseball bat until I was 13 years old. I was a football player. I played basketball. And the coach for the baseball team asked me to play because he needed a player. He needed players on the team. So I said, okay. And I just started playing. I was just naturally good. So he's 13 years old, never even touched a bat, and he was good. And he wasn't highly recruited out of high school. He's actually local from Chicago. he ended up going to a Division II school. And he said that drove him because he felt that he should have been a Division I school, like to go to Illinois or Northwestern or some of these larger schools. I'm just totally fascinated by this guy's story as he's telling it. He ends up having a great college career, and then he gets drafted. He makes it to the majors. He gets drafted by MLB. I think he was in the majors like 2 or 3 years later. He played in the farm system first, and then he got called up. So after the end of this story, I'm just still mesmerized by the fact that he was 13 years old before he touched the bat. Some of these guys have been playing since they were 3, 4, 5 years old, and their parents really pushed them. Then he says, this is the quote that he gives, and it's just super powerful. And I hope you guys have the ability to kind of rewind this and play it. And it was, it doesn't matter where you start. It matters where you finish and everything in between. And I'm really glad I was paying attention, because I went into my cell phone and I typed it out and I said, okay, this is so awesome. I can't wait to share this with people, because here's somebody that's actually lived that, right? Like, he started later, because a lot of you think that, I'm too old to start a business, right? Or I don't know enough, or whatever the roadblock is for you, whatever the story is that you tell yourself. If you have this formula, which is, hey, it doesn't make any difference, I just need to start. And then I'm going to do everything that is required. I'm going to do the extra work. I'm going to outwork everybody else. And I'm going to finish, right? I'm going to finish this. So this quote may land with you differently than it lands with me. And it should, because each and every person is different. But I'm just going to repeat this again. It doesn't matter where you start. It matters where you finish and everything in between. And what I heard him say was everything in between. That's what I heard him say, because that's really where these guys kind of cut their teeth and made themselves, was in the process, and doing all of the extra work and learning to love that. And that's why they ended up where they went, which was to the major league. I'll tell you this really cool story about what they shared when they first got called up, because one of the guys asked them, they said, hey, what was it like when you got called up to the major leagues? I was expecting like some really crazy answers, but the guys had the simplest stuff. It's like, hey, this is stuff that you dream about as a little kid. Like, they're talking to the kids like, hey, we dreamed about it too since we were your age. And the stories are really funny about what they chose to tell the kids, which was, hey, it was just amazing how much brighter the lights were in a major league stadium versus like a AAA or a AA stadium. They talked about the food, right? They talked about how they would not have to do anything. Somebody came and got their luggage. They didn't have to carry their own bags. So it's little things like that. Another guy talked about how he saw his father and the two of them couldn't say a word to each other because they were too emotional. It was just like, hey, this is just the culmination of all this hard work and all this years of dreaming and finally getting this opportunity to play in a Major League Baseball game. And I was just expecting different answers, but it was the simplest stuff, right? It was the simplest things that these guys chose to remember. And I just wanted to leave you with that quote. I want to encourage you all to just continue to dream big, because it was really inspiring for me to hear these other 6, 7 guys that were there, what their dreams were, what they did to get there, and what their experience is like once they got to that place. I just want you to continue to dream and to continue to know that it's all in your control. Like, so much of it is in your control. All this stuff that we think about that we want to do, it's all right there for you. It's all up to you. What are you going to do in between starting and finishing? Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow. Go out there and make your life great.